tell it's humid. My lens is all getting foggy. I already wiped it down several times before I even turned you on. All right, so this is a long overdue project. Made the attempt to cover and keep the weather out of it, but see how well that worked out. Towards the end of last year, when I was putting away, blowing everything out, I noticed around the toilet, between the toilet and the tub, had a bunch of water damage, so there must have been a leak back in there. And the floor is all punky and soft, and it's punky and soft in a couple other places too. So my attempt is to try to start remedying some of that, and see if we get it back into some useful condition again. So I'm gonna go and ooh, it's fogging up bad, ain't ya? Go get that ready to come back to life. So without further ado and without further fogging, I'm gonna go get on that. Well, I'm gonna call that close enough. That might be your problem. You got a bad valve stem. Well, we're gonna go limp it over to the garage with a thumping tire. And another thing to repair. But I'm hooked up to the truck, and the driveway's pretty empty. So that'll make it good to be able to move around without too much stuff in our way. I kind of want to get it in the hole over here and work where all my tools are instead of trying to run everything back and forth. I'll try it in two-wheel drive, see if it'll move it with a flat. The Toyota needed a jumper pack to start that one too. Alright. I highly recommend, if you move a lot of junk around, to put a trailer hitch on the front of your truck. Does make life a lot easier. Yeah, we're never gonna make this. We got to do it again. Alright, let's see if we can smash it into the back of the car carrier. Nothing's behind me. I don't have that hitch all the way up neither. Alright. Gonna be tight. Gotta watch how far I T-bone it too, you know. What I probably should do is stick a ball on the 4Runner over there and use that for my tow vehicle. Plenty of room. Alright, I think we'll call it right there. See how we look. So the area in question where all the work is going to have to get done is this corner up underneath. That should do us. Alright. Let's continue on. So another thing I grabbed was this electric trailer hitch setup, and instead of cranking one by hand, you got a switch you put up and down. The top of it was smashed off, so I took an old inner tube, cut it up, and kind of covered it from the weather getting into it after I got everything freed up. But you're supposed to run a fuse in it, and I'm looking at it here. It says the 30 amp is supposed to be in line, and I believe by mistake I didn't know what I was doing, and I put a 20 in there. And what did I buy to replace it? I remember getting one a while ago. I believe this one is 30. So what happens is you could run it for a few minutes, then it gets hot and shuts off, and then it cools down. There we go. So you'd have to reset it, you know, let it sit for 2 minutes, and then it'll go the rest of the way up, but that's getting annoying, so that's another issue we're going to take care of. Well, pardon the mess a little bit, but let's go open her up. Doesn't smell too bad in here, which is a good thing. Critters. Hopefully there's no mice having their way in here, which is usually what happens to everything that is around here. And I want to show you what we're dealing with. As you can kind of see on the floor there, that discoloration, and that's not good. So I have a feeling either whatever is behind here kind of plumbing is leaking, or the tub. If you push on that, you can kind of see there's nothing there compared to the nice solidness of right here. So I'm going to probably remove that thing, and I think that panel might come off of right there, side of the tub, and looking to see what we got. I think the holding tanks are underneath that, so it's going to be a bit of a pain too, but it needs to be addressed. But before I do anything, I'm going to take that tire off the side of it and go put a new valve stem in that, and make sure that we can roll this thing around easy without killing that tire that's only a year old. Well, new valve stem in the tire, I got that out of the way. I think it was that one. Okay, that one or that one. One of those two. This one. Then I took the toilet surround apart behind it, and I didn't see anything obvious, so I figured I'd put some water in the camper and turn on the plumbing and see if we could see any kind of leaks that we got going on. And I figured instead of trying to stretch a couple garden hoses together, I would hook the 4Runner up to it and use the 4Runner as my a little yard mule to move it around, see if it could burn up some of the full tank that is in it before it gets junked. And when I was doing that, that could have went terribly wrong, couldn't it? Got a little close to the tree. Be careful backing up. Alright, so I did some digging. I got this cabinet out of the way, which kind of just hid the plumbing from behind. And what I think was happening, I turned the water, filled the water, and pressurized the system. And it looks like right up on the toilet right here, this upper part is leaking somehow. And it's running down the side of it, and as you can see, the strap is in the way. The floor is getting wet again. So that might be my problem right there. So unfortunately it's leaking up high, up by the valve, somewhere up here. So we'll go pull that out and put it on a bench and see what we got. Alright, so we got the whole thing out on the bench, and I'm thinking that the O-rings are failing inside that valve. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's moisture. There, see the droplet? So I'm thinking that that's my area, that's probably the valve where you push from the top on and off, and those O-rings are just leaking under pressure. So I'm gonna go see if I can disassemble that assembly and hopefully just change some O-rings. I do see some white kind of around the plastic, like stress marks on the plastic, so I don't know if something got tugged on or whatnot, but we'll see. Alright, so I popped that valve out of there. This is kind of what the assembly looks like. It's got a, looks like a backflow. Basically, water pressure is here all the time. This lever is when you flush it, you push that, it allows water to come through and flush and then release itself again. Something like that. So, pressure is here all the time. The only time pressure goes past this is when you open the valve. So I would doubt it's this one failing or this one failing, because these are just going to have, I don't even think they have pressure on them. I just kind of think it stops any wicking from going around, because this is just going to dump right into the bowl and run out. So my suspect is going to be the O-ring that's right inside that valve right there. So we'll pop that screw out of there, pop that assembly out of there, and then we'll go see what we can find. Alright, I stuck that sucker back on there, turn the water pressure back on. Let's see if we can bleed that. Right. Let that set for a while and we'll see if we get any drippies out of anything. And that was cross-threaded. From the factory, whoever did that just meatballed it right on and Guess it didn't leak, so they didn't worry about it. Here's water moving. I can see water moving in that one. Where's that one going? That means something else is on. That one's closed. Oh, you know what it is? It's filling the water heater. It's full of air right now. We're more concerned with what's going on right here. Probably go fill that up and we'll let the get all the bunch of air in the hot water is what it is. The other part is too, I'm probably running low on how much I put in the tank. I just threw some in there for shits and giggles. I gotta put some bleach water in there too and shock the holding tank. But I have a feeling that might have been my problem right there. So what I'm going to do is pull it back forward again. We'll fill this thing up with water, put a decent amount, and put some bleach in it too to shock all that. And we'll get rid of that funky looking pulsing there as it's trying to push air out of the water heater and cure that problem. And then we'll probably just let it sit with pressure on it for a while. I'll wrap this with a paper towel and we'll come back to it and see if it gets wet at all. Well, I filled up the holding tanks and was chasing different lights, getting bulbs and lenses that were missing, and let the water pressure stay on. See, my AC's doing well. It's dripping down the rain gutter. That's that puddle. It's from the air conditioner, which is nice to have. So I filled up the holding tank with water and bleach and let that sit because that has to get done anyway. So that's full. And then I left the pressure on, bled all the air out of it. And then I wrapped a paper towel around it and let it sit for an hour. And let's go see what we got. Pop a light on the camera too. And that's nice and dry. Alright, so I think we're good. I just put another O-ring, just a generic O-ring in there, and let that sit. I'm also going to replace this one too, I think, just for shits and giggles. But again, I don't think there's any pressure there. That's just to keep anything after you flush it that runs down. So we'll change that out anyhow. And the floor, you can see where the damage is, right where the color kind of changes there. So there's nothing underneath here. See it. But the problem is that we'll have to remove this tub assembly and start ripping up the floor. You can't get to it from the bottom because the holding tank is sitting right here. The drain goes right dead center of the holding tank, and the mount is still good for where the toilet is. So I think my best bet is probably just to leave it well enough alone. If the toilet flange started failing and the toilet was rocking, then I definitely have to get in there and deal with it. But as of right now, it's okay, and the only thing it's done is just discolored the vinyl from up above. We can live with that. So I think we're just going to leave well enough alone and reinstall our toilet. It's humid today. So it's the next day, and I had to take that toilet apart a couple of times. I actually shut it off over the night. So the pump didn't build up any more pressure, or lose any pressure over the course of the nighttime. That's good. It kept its prime, we should say. And what I ended up having to do was it stopped the immediate leak of it kind of dripping down the back, but every time you flush the toilet, it would still have a couple of spittles that would go down the back. So I actually ended up disassembling the whole toilet, and back behind here there's a chamber, a manifold or whatever you want to call it. Kind of actually looks like a kidney, and it has an input and two outputs, one going down and one going to the side. One probably powers the circular one of the bowl, and another one, I don't know, dumps water into a main chamber. I'm not quite sure. But replaced the two O-rings on that and rubbed some silicone around them and reassembled all that. And as long as the floor is nice and dry, which is a good thing, and I'm gonna go and it's not bolted down yet. I'll cycle that a couple of times and just make sure everything is staying nice and dry. Alright, I'll be happy with that. So that's gonna be what we're gonna go with. Again, I'm gonna leave the floor the way it is. I would cause more damage than help. Trying to access that, and I got other areas and other things to go fix. So that part of it's wrapped up for now. I'm gonna go bolt that toilet back together, and I can get myself out of the bathroom and screw those access panels back together, and take one last double check underneath the tub, make sure there's nothing going on underneath there. Seems like every year that you take an RV out and get it ready for the season, I generally find one leak somewhere. So last year I didn't find any, and that was probably the one I missed. Alright, so you can see if we can start getting this all kind of cleaned up and put back together again. Well, I took a jug of 10% bleach and 90% water and went over and misted the whole thing down and let it set up for about 15-20 minutes, and I went back with the pressure washer and it cleaned up so purty. Still gotta do the inside, but outside's looking good. I want to pop the, it's like a screen room or tent room in the front that pops out like a pop-up camper, comes down and has the cloth all over it. We're going to pull that out and see what that looks like, and do the same with the awning. It might need a good bleaching, so I think first though I'm going to kind of go get it over here on the grass out of the way of the driveway so that I can get around it while it's sitting. Alright, I popped the pop out and I popped the awning out. You can see the dirt that's on both of them. Yeah, nice and clean, huh? The other side doesn't fare much better. So we're gonna go give that a shot of bleach also. Take care of that. I broke my stinking handle. Pissing me off. And that releases the ratchet so that you can change the positions. So I gotta come up with something to fix that. And the top, you can see how dirty the top is too. So, go mix up another jug of bleach and water, give them a shot and spray them off, and we'll kind of do a little before and after. Hey, about 15 minutes later. That makes a big difference, doesn't it? The underneath usually fights me a little bit harder, but you can see where it's all kicking already. There's still some left. I gotta go back and hit one more time. That's not the spot I missed right there. But it definitely makes a big improvement. I haven't rinsed it off of water yet. The one thing is when you use that bleach stuff, don't let it dry on there, because then it'll leave like streak marks. You can see some where it's still kind of yellow melting. So, again, the vast improvement. So I'm gonna give it one last shot with the bleach, and then rinse it off and let her dry up and go do lunch.